Hello, Dawn, and
Hi.
hi. How are you getting on at Alexandra Palace with your lovely exhibition here?
This is my first exhibition ever, so I'm really chuffed by the. Well, everyone comes around the corner and says, "Wow!" And that's never happened to me before because I've never done an exhibition before, and I've never been to Alexandra Palace either. So it's a double whammy of surprise. So I'm really shocked by the response I've had.
I'm not surprised. It's a very dramatic. Can I say yes? Dramatic. It's a very dramatic space. Who actually put these pieces up? Because I wouldn't even begin to know how to display your work.
Well, I had already pinned them out beforehand so that I knew that I can get the shape right. But then my husband helped me work out where to put everything. Our wedding shawl takes centre place. But he drilled lots and lots of holes.
So your wedding shawl is the blue piece?
Yes, that's the one with the...
it looks like a star.
It does. It reminds me of a compass, so it's got compass points.
Yes.
And he helped me. He drilled all the holes so they could get all the work pinned out. And he's done a fantastic job making my work look really, really amazing.
It's a beautiful display, and I see you've got tiny pieces as well.
The tiny pieces are exercises in colour combinations, so I could easily take one of the little pieces and get it back to the live stitches and then just start making it into a bigger one.
So they're mini samples?
Yeah. Some of them work better than others, and some of them I might either repeat or just take them out of the boxes and then just start making a bigger piece instead.
Right. And also your patterns. Tell me about the patterns that you choose.
Right, well, to begin with, when I started making Sankey, it was a very experimental piece.
And Sankey, is that the piece with the skulls on it?
It is. Well, lots of them have skulls on it, but this one is the one with the bright skulls in the centre of it and the skulls around the outside.
Yeah.
It's an experimental piece because I was working with lots of different colours, and I made up the motifs to go into it as I knew they would fit into each section of the piece. So it's entirely my own design. But some of the other ones are based on traditional patterns. Lapland, which is a purple one with a lovely burst of green in the middle. Those are traditional. I'm not sure if they're all Fair Isle, but some of them will be Scandinavian-based ones.
Yeah.
I've just altered them slightly so they'll fit into the pattern, and then I did a knit on edge after I'd finished it to make it slightly bigger. The one called Night Veil is...
That's the green-based piece.
It's green one with little spots of purple in the middle, and then it gets bigger and bigger circles.
Yeah.
I used two different variegated yarns so that I could get a lovely colour combinations, and I was never sure what the combination would be until the end of it.
Yeah.
So that was another experiment in colour and shape. And the one called Heather Blows is based on some traditional Fair Isle ones, but I've added my own in as well. So from the green circle out, it's all my designs. That was based on moorland colours of heather and grass.
You can see that.
Thank you.
You can see that. Yeah. And how long would one of your shawls take to construct?
The Fair Isle ones take about 100 hours altogether. I work on about 1 or 2 hours a day, travelling on the bus to work and back. Yeah. Which is about 3 months. Yeah. Just over 3 months' work. So I do knit anywhere and everywhere, so I will take the work to the pub as long as I can see what I'm doing and don't make any mistakes.
And what do you work on? Do you work on circular needles?
Yeah, I start and finish on circular needles. The size of the circular needles alters when I get to the big stages. I won't change the pin size, but I'll change the length of circular needle that I'm using.
So it's the cord between the needles?
Yes, that's the cord. So I'm using interchangeable ones so that I can change the size of the cable.
And is there a brand that you use?
I've been using Knit Pro interchangeable needles because they come in a variety of lengths. The longest one I've got is 3 metres because I need at least 3 metres to finish off the outside. But I'll start with a smaller one in the middle and use a magic loop.
And what size needles do you use?
What I'm making at the moment is on 3mm, but I have used size 9 or 10, so it's about 3.75, 3.5mm. but most of the time I'll be using either sock yarn or 2-ply, but I will go up to DK or 4-ply if I'm using slightly bigger needles.
So what pattern are you working on at the moment anyway?
This is just a new one. I'm making it up as I go along, so I haven't got a set plan, but I'm trying to use blue and grey colours maybe. I did joke earlier to my husband that it might be a pirate theme, but it's more, I was thinking I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, apart from the fact it's already got skulls on it.
Do you tend to do a lot of skulls in your work?
I do. I mean, I make hats with skulls on, regularly for people, and I just got into the habit of memorising the pattern and just making more and more of those.
So what other things do you make apart from... Obviously the shawls are the prominent part of it. Well, it is the exhibition today.
I make hats. I made a tam hat, but that was just colour changes. It wasn't Fair Isle really. I make fingerless gloves. I made cowls. Anything that involves a circular needle, I can usually...
So you're a circular needle person?
Yes.
100%?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I don't use straight needles anymore, or DPNs. Circulars is the way to go.
What's DPNs?
Double pointed needles.
Ah, yes.
A lot of people use those for socks.
So they're on 4 needles?
Yeah, they usually have 3 needles and then a 4th needle to knit with.
Yes.
And it just keeps changing the needle, so I'm just working on a circular one all the time, and I know how many stitches to do for this particular pattern because I've memorised the full pattern.
How do you know where you are when you put your work down?
I count.
Do you finish at a particular point so you know what to
No,
pick
I can put it down anytime I want. I mean, if I'm doing some more complicated pattern than this one, then I'll have I'll put markers in, like the marker that I put in here. I just use a loom band to mark it. So I'll just get lots and lots of little loom bands to mark where the motif finishes and the next one starts. But at the moment I'm just doing one motif repeated all the way around rather than the whole story of them, as it were.
So how frequently do you increase when you do your shawls?
Well, the increase that I do is my trade secret.
No, I don't need to know that then.
But it's a regular one. It's based on pie, but I've made
on
some...
pie?
Yeah, I've made some alterations.
Like
Well, the pie shawl, the lace shawl I've made is based on pie, but when you increase in lace, you make a hole. And I don't like having holes in this Fair Isle. It needs to be a solid piece, so I've invented a new way of increasing, so you don't get the hole, and I increase it at certain points along the way, so that I know how many stitches are in each round at any one point. And then I can include different patterns as I go along.
What's your background? Do you have a mathematical background?
No, I'm terrible at maths.
So why have you talked about pie?
Because it's an easy way to figure it out. Obviously, you can't divide stitches by 3.14, so you have to change it slightly anyway. But because knitting is quite stretchy and amenable to different stitch patterns and tensions, then you can get around that by adding an extra round or taking a round out instead. So I just made a mistake there.
And do you know when to finish, when to stop, and actually put the needles down, cast off and walk away?
Cast off is usually at a point where I can't fit any more stitches onto the actual needle. Because I'm using a 2 metre one here, I'm going to add an extra 2 metre one.
So that's your 2 metre cord between the needles?
Yeah. The other ones I finished off with a 3 metre cable, and it was getting a bit tight, so I'm going to opt to put 2 cable needles together to make one huge 4 metre cable, which I haven't done before, so then I can add more stitches on. Usually finish when I've got past the final motif, which will be 1,152 stitches.
Would you ever consider doing a workshop just to create these tiny samples that you're creating?
Definitely, yeah. The workshop I've done before was one called Flatmate, so it teaches you how to make a basic one, but without the all the fair isle work in it.
Yeah.
So you end up knitting plain circles. It looks like a target at the end of it.
Okay, and what's your website, please?
My website, I have a Facebook page, Midnight Hemming. I have a web page which is also called Midnight Hemming, so if you type that into Google it'll come up. I have an Instagram page, but my husband deals with that.
That's fine. That's fine.
So you can find me on Facebook or on Wick's Midnight Hemming site.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Enjoy the show.